This is Sexy Funny Raw, where we talk all about the world of sex, from dating and relationships to the adult industry itself, answering all the questions you weren't even brave enough to ask Google. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sexy Funny Raw. I am your host, Silvia Sage, and joined with me today is a very interesting guest. She is a polyamorous coach. Please welcome to the show, Laurie Ellington.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sylvia. Nice to
Hello.
be here.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. I have a plethora of questions for you. But first things first, I want you to kind of break down for our audience exactly what polyamory means and how it works and how you got into it yourself.
For sure. I would say that every person would respond differently to that question.
Okay.
Polyamory has a number of different ways to that it puts itself out there in the world. And the umbrella term would be ethical non-monogamy. And then under ethical non-monogamy, we have things like polyamory and swinging and monogamish. And so there's lots of different ways that people can play in the ethical non-monogamous way. And so, do you have okay?
Yeah, monogamish. I've never heard that. That's a new term even for me. So what is that exactly?
I would say monogamish are people who might tend to be more sexually monogamous.
Okay.
But they may have intimate experiences of varying degrees with other people. Or it could be a couple that is more monogamous than anything, but maybe there's something called a hall pass that they get when they travel. So there's there's more emphasis on we are a unit and we're staying together and that's not going to change. And once in a while, we might just, with consent, explore with certain people with certain under certain circumstances and then come back together.
Yeah, and with consent is such a huge note, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily, a lot of people, I think, when they think of polyamory or non-monogamy, they're thinking of cheating.
Exactly.
And that it's not going to be okay with your spouse. It's not talked about with your spouse. And that's not what we are discussing here.
We're not discussing that. No, that does happen. And I get many clients who, they're the oops clients. They're the clients that call me up and they're like, well, you know, I did this thing and now I kind of want to call myself poly. And can you talk with my wife to make sure that it's okay? Or can you talk with my husband? And, you know, and I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to.
So they want you to break the ice to the other one and break the news.
Well, first of all, they kind of test my waters to see if that's something that I will do, which I will not do. You know, when I do have people that come to me under those circumstances, obviously I have a lot of compassion. I understand why and what can lead up to someone going outside of their marriage to get some needs met. I understand that completely, have a lot of compassion for that. And like, my role is not to do their dirty work or shadow work for them. So what I do in those situations is like normalize where they're coming from, meet them with as much care as possible, like judgment free, like I get it. And like, these are things that I can help you with. And in order for me to help you with anything ethical, we need to bring your relationship into an ethical place. And then I can work with you. So sometimes I'll have conversations with people in those situations to sort of give them the encouragement and the confidence to lean into having an edgy conversation. And then from there, either I'll work with them or I won't. You know, I do have had people who have gone through that cheating period and then they're wanting to build trust again. And so I have a lot of clients that come to me for those reasons too, just to kind of like help them feel okay. But once trust is broken, it's kind of hard to get back.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you say one partner brings it to you. Do you typically just see one partner in a relationship or do you coach the couple together?
I see everybody. I see individuals, couples.
Oh, okay.
I'll meet with groups. One time, most of my clients are on Zoom. So one time I had 4 heads in the box, you know, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, just kind of bringing in whatever I can to support, like whether it's an individual or a couple, or sometimes I'll work with a couple and then they'll bring in their partner to have a separate kind of conversation with me, because I think that there's something really beneficial in getting like undivided attention for each person. So sometimes I'll the group and then I'll do one-on-ones and then we'll come back together as a group. Whatever they need is what I like to share.
Right. And then how long have you yourself been in the lifestyle?
Since 2012.
Okay, got it.
So
And
I've got a
so,
few years under my belt.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. How did you first find yourself in the scenario to be in an open
Sure.
relationship?
So I was in one of those relationships that the red flags were there, and rather than taking the red flags and take as warning signs and getting away from the relationship, I made clothing out of them. And I was like, well, this red flag looks good here, and this one looks here, and then finally yeah,
Guilty.
and then finally that wasn't going to work, so I paid that person to leave my life, and I had
Oh
some
my
time
gosh.
to myself. And then a friend of mine, we'd been friends for 8 years. Sparks started to fly between us. And then he gave me this term called polyamory. And I was like, what's that? And so he started describing all of these things. Well, I want to have a girlfriend and another girlfriend, and, just giving me a whole list. And I was like, well, if you do that, does that mean that I can do that too? And so then he was
Mm-hmm.
like, absolutely. So we just started this 7 year relationship where we lived together, we worked together, we played together. And that was my foray into the lifestyle. And then in that, I learned a lot. Like my
Yeah.
system was like, how do you do this? I started my coaching practice. And when that relationship, went through its term, we're still very close friends now, but when that went through its final evolution or phase,
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of exploring on my own. And, now I've been kind of on my own solo poly for a good, I don't know, since 2019. I mean, I did have a 3 year exclusive-ish relationship during COVID. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I've kind of been on my own and I really like it. I think I'm more poly now than I've ever been before.
Yeah. Do you think that the reason you were only monogamous in COVID was due to the fact that you could not be with
Well,
other
it's an
partners?
interesting thing. Because I did a little deep dive personally for that. There was something
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful about having that time to be exclusive with one person because of COVID. I had my buddy, like I
Mm-hmm.
had my anchor
Mm-hmm.
partner. And then there was also something that I didn't have in my previous relationship. I didn't have a sense of like deep nervous system reset because that first
Mm.
open relationship was very, I mean, it was like it was open in so many different ways,
Yeah.
and it was almost like too much, too fast, too much fun, too soon. And I wasn't
Mm.
quite sure how to really metabolize all of that. And so,
You mean emotionally, right?
exactly, and
Yeah.
energetically.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I had this sort of like respite,
Yeah.
it became clear of like, oh, like my nervous system actually needed a reset. And then when that relationship ended, because it just was, when someone presents themselves as one thing and then reality is telling you something different, it's kind of a knock, like, pay attention, Laurie. So I got rid of that one. Um, and then it was just sort of like, oh, like this is what it's like to be me. And I feel really regulated in my nervous system. And now I'm kind of navigating the world in a new lens, and it's really fun.
Yeah. So you mentioned on that first partner when you first got in that it was a lot really fast. And you said you were playing together. When you say playing together, do you mean that you would see partners together or that you would see partners separately? Or was it kind of a mixture of
Everything.
both? Everything in between. Okay.
It was
That's why it was probably a lot
Yeah, it
very
was
fast.
everything. And it was and because we had already, an established friendship, and we were already like
Mm.
buddies from the beginning, like there was a
Hmm.
level of trust that I had where I could try these new things. And I think I did really well. I think we both did.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of newness.
And then where do you go emotionally with that? Because were you feeling emotionally attached to him or did you ever feel emotionally attached to any other partners? And how did you deal with that?
Good question. In the newness of it, I was more emotionally
Mm,
attached to him, and I wasn't quite
mm,
sure how to navigate emotional connections with other people. He had more
mm.
experience in open relationships, so he was having emotional connections with other people, but I didn't, my system didn't understand that that was okay or safe. So
Right,
there was a
right.
growth edge there. I did over the years develop the capacity to have emotional connections with other people. And at
Hmm.
one point, he and I had a triad with another woman, which was lovely. And then
Wait, when you say triad, did you live together?
we didn't live together, but
Okay,
I
okay,
could say that we shared a female partner, if that makes sense.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Yes.
he had, his other solo people that he would date. And I had a couple of people that I would see every once in a while, but I never really like at that time didn't really like buy into, can I really be in love with multiple people at the same time,
Yeah.
which is what polyamory might be. It was more like I can be open and I can share, but I'm like, my heart's still a little like, I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
happening here. And
Mm-hmm.
when we ended our relationship, that's when I actually developed the, like, I felt like I could be more polyamorous because I had him as a partner that we weren't
Mm-hmm.
living together, but we were still romantic. And then I had another male partner and I had a female partner. And I was like, this is amazing. I have space for all of them. But then COVID happened and then everything just kind of
Mm.
changed.
So it's crazy when you say that you've had all these partners, you're getting all of your needs met from different people. How are you capable of keeping up with everybody else's needs? Did you ever feel just like drained from yourself to like giving so much to so many
It's
people?
a great question. And I think that's where one of the key things about the success about making this work is people have to
Yeah.
be really in check with their like energetic and emotional capacity of like how
Mm.
much can I give and am I giving
Mm-hmm.
too much? And if I'm giving too much, how can I bring myself back? Because I think it's really easy for people to overgive and then before you know it, if I'm over giving, then I've like kind of lost myself in one place and then I've lost
Yeah.
myself somewhere else. So what I've discovered, especially in this time where I'm more solo poly, is like I have my own solid home base here within me. And I'm wanting
Mm.
to really develop that and make sure that that is in check. And then from that place of feeling grounded and centered, then I can date multiple people. And I do have different experiences now with different people and I don't find myself getting lost whereas before I did find myself getting lost. So there's a definitely
Mm-hmm.
a transformation or an evolution that happens over the period like over a period of years.
Yeah.
Why I think some people might be quick to say that they're poly or they want to be poly and I'm like, yeah, well give yourself 6 years.
Yeah. I just imagine it. I'm just thinking my own capacity, and I know how I get in relationships, and I dive in head first, and I like to give so much attention to the person, probably overwhelmingly so. I will say I might be a bit of a love bomber, but I'm like, I can't imagine doing that to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I'd never
yeah.
work again.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. But the work that you do, Sylvia, actually, I think is pretty nice and nourishing. So you might be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. What would you say is probably one of the biggest misconceptions that you hear from outside sources about polyamory that you wish you could just like like squish forever? No one speaks of this again.
Yeah, that polyamory equals as much sex as you want with whoever you want all the time.
Yeah, they think that of porn too. So that's
Yeah,
a good
it's
one.
like if you lead with something saying, "Oh, I'm poly," or probably I'm a porn star, that means,
Mm.
"Oh, you mean you want to have
Mhm.
sex right now?" It's like, no,
Mhm.
that's not
Mhm.
exactly what I mean. It's like I like I
Yeah.
like chocolate ice cream, but I'm not in an ice cream store right now, so don't offer me chocolate ice cream.
Right. It's so true, so true. I so what are some cuz I feel like the biggest reason most people don't do this, they don't open their relationships up is because of the like emotional roadblocks that you're going to hit along the way, whether it be jealousy or envy. What do you say to people trying to navigate those feelings?
Yeah, it's a great question and probably one of the most popular ones out there. One of the things that I like to continue, like to encourage people to see is that feelings are natural and feelings are normal. Like we are humans in a human body, and so we are going to have
Mhm.
human emotions. And society has given us these, way to describe the feelings that are coming up or the emotions that are moving through us. And then they've put little stigmas like, oh, jealousy is a bad thing. Oh, fear is a bad
Mm.
thing. Insecurity can't be insecure. And therefore, I can't do this thing called polyamory or ethical non monogamy. So we have these
Mhm.
roadblocks along the way. And it's like, okay, well, if we could just slow down and rather than
Right.
attach a story to a feeling or an emotion, if we just slow down and get curious, then maybe it's like, oh, like, yeah, like I am feeling a desire to open up, but let's talk about some of the reasons why it might be challenging. And then when two
Yeah.
people can start to talk about some of the reasons why it might be challenging or some of the fears or some of the desires, and like if they can create enough space in their relationship to be able to have those conversations, more often
Yeah.
than not, the intimacy grows, the trust grows, the container of like the capacity that they can hold in like it increases and grows. And then before you know it, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, wow, we just had this amazing conversation. Let's have great sex. And now maybe we don't have to open up a relationship. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Then you can start to look at, wow, like, okay, given where we're at, these are some of the things that are in alignment. These are some of the things that we might need to talk about. And what can we do with what we have that could add more spice into our relationship? Maybe it is considering opening in some certain way, but like
Mm-hmm.
taking time to see what could be possible where it's a win-win for everyone is so much different than saying, hey, we're opening up our relationship and I'll see you next week. Like that doesn't.
Right. Well, and that too, and like opening up, obviously, at least in my head, and maybe I'm wrong, I think it's probably going to be easier for one partner to find additional partners than it would be for the other one. So in that instance, you also have the, well, what about me
Oh,
syndrome,
that's
you know?
huge.
So
Huge. There's
yeah,
always the question around it needs to be fair and it needs to be balanced and it needs to look exactly the same. Like, okay, got it. Like, I understand.
yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, especially when we're in our toddler self. Like, what's yours is mine and
Mm,
what's mine is yours, and no one else can come and take
mm-hmm,
it from me. Like,
mm-hmm,
understood. And then there's like, well, in reality, as functioning adults, things do look different. Lots of times on the
mm,
dating apps, like women will get tons of attention, like those in female
yes.
bodies with breasts and all the things that people like to look at. They
Mm-hmm,
get a lot of likes and a lot of messages. And then there are partners that are like, well, I didn't,
mm-hmm,
and so then that starts to gnaw upon the ego, the self-worth, like
mm-hmm,
all those things. And so when that comes up, I just like to, again, like, let's pause, let's slow it down. We don't need to rush because sometimes when people have the permission to go out and be open, it's like, oh my God, it's like a fire and they're like, burn real fast. And
mm-hmm,
there's a sense of urgency. It's like, feel the desire and take your time rather
mm-hmm.
than feel the desire and let the desire burn you out. It's like feel the desire, let the desire build, have the conversations, and then see what's possible where you can have a win-win.
Yeah. I also feel like for women, it's more excusable, I guess, for us to be with other women as to oppose to where a man. So as a woman, I can be with men, I can be with women. I have both options. I feel like with a man, they don't necessarily feel like they have the option to go to a man. They only feel like the option to have a woman. So do you ever see that men are opening up more on the gay side when it comes to polyamory or not at
Interesting. That's an
all?
interesting question. I think it's more common or at least more open for women to be just, more of the bisexual, bi-curious.
Mhm.
Guy kind of likes that too because it's like, oh yeah, like my woman
Yeah.
wants to be with another woman, I'll be in a three, no problem, threesome, here we go. Like that's really
Mhm.
exciting. Uh, and
Mhm.
I think there might be more of a social stigma for men who are bi-curious to actually explore that. And I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
traditionally women that are in traditional relationships, and this is like traditional, like I don't want to offend anyone by saying this, but who knows, I might, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But it's sort of
Right.
like women who are in that like monogamous mindset, if their man is like gearing towards exploring sexuality with another male, it kind of doesn't work. Like there's something can
Mm.
contract. I'm not saying that it always happens, but it can happen because it's kind of, I don't know, it has a different I don't know, social stigma. I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
feel for those men who, and I've, in my separate business, I work with those men who
Okay.
are exploring what it's like to, dive into different aspects of their sexuality, but they don't know how to do
Mhm.
that with their, female partners.
Because you also work as a dominatrix in BDSM,
Little do,
correct?
yeah, little different. And I have
Okay.
some tantra,
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
do weave those elements into my coaching practice, but then also a separate
Yeah.
practice as well to kind of help people, maybe similar to you. It's like you're creating spaces for people to embrace and awaken
Mhm.
their eroticism and to do it in a way
Mhm.
that's safe and consensual and also
Mhm.
can help them become more full embodied humans for their own benefit as
Mhm.
well as the benefit of their partners and their connections. And so yeah, I spent a lot of time with that as well.
What would you say if you have a couple come in and you can tell that one partner is maybe looking to use this as an excuse to cheat or looking for an excuse to step out of their relationship and not necessarily going to be using it in the correct way that polygamy should be, which is what we both now to know is to be heavily consented by both parties.
Yeah. So one of the things that I like to do is I spend a lot of time sort of tracking,
Mm,
conversation and tracking each of the individuals and sort of like getting a sense of like, okay, like, are they doing this because they really want to, or are they doing this because they feel like they need to, or are they faking it so
mm,
that they make it? Like, there's all of these different places where people might override their choice or override the fact that they might think that they have a choice. And so
mm-hmm,
when I do work with people, one of my things is like slowing things down and kind of checking in and asking questions.
mm,
So, how does this feel for you? Are you in alignment with this? It's like, it sounds like you said this. Like, can we explore this a little bit more? So, I like to really, almost take polyamory off the
mm,
table and get like what's true for you and what's true for you. Okay, got it. And then do those align? Okay, great. Well, what you
mm.
just said doesn't really line up with that, so let's get clear with that. And one of my previous partners called me a relationship ninja because I'll just go and I'll just be like, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. I'm like, you know. Uh,
Do you often notice power struggles between couples in this
I
instance?
mean, I do. Like I never, let me put it this way. If I do notice a power structure or if like there's some sort of coercion or something like that, I'll just call it out.
Yeah.
Like I am
Okay.
I am I am a like give me the flashlight, let's go in the room. Where are the elephants? We're opening up the closets, we're seeing what's in.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in like people are in trouble, but it's sort of like, wait, hold on a second, that doesn't line up.
Mm,
I just don't know. Like I can share one thing. Like I had this session with this guy many years ago and he was describing, his relationship with his wife. And I said, I'm going to ask you a really challenging question. Are you open to it? And he's like, sure. I was like, why are you with your wife? Or no, I said, at a scale from zero to five, how much do you want to be with your wife? And he's like,
hmm. Oh no.
paid me my money. And like he knew his decision because I was like, you don't have to tell me, but it's for you to think about. He paid me my.
Oh,
And that session ended, and I got an email, like, I don't know, like a month or two later, and said, thank you so much for that session. That gave me exactly the information I needed. And I am choosing to move away from my unhappy marriage and blah, 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 blah. So it's just like,
yikes.
gave him, it's just sort of like, I just ask questions. Like, I can't make
Mm,
anyone's decision,
right.
but I can ask the questions. And I tell people, like, are you okay with me asking a question? Because it's like, it seems like this is something that maybe, no one's ever asked you before. And I do it in a way where they feel seen and validated. And more often than not, if I'm sort of, sharing my perspective on what it is that I'm seeing and sensing, they look at me, they're like, wow, that is so spot on. I can't,
Mm,
like, I just,
yeah.
I like to normalize the fact that it's complicated.
Yes. Yeah. Do most of your clients who come to you know that you work in the dominatrix field, the tantra field, the BDSM world?
It's on my site and I do weave it in
Okay.
if they want that. And it's also like one of those things like when it comes to like the dominatrix and the the power struggles and the or like when the like the power dynamics, like I look at it more from an energetic component. It's like masculine is very grounded and very like, they can penetrate, but they also can hold space. Feminine is sort of like the wild storm and the emotional. And so I'll weave that in to be able to support men. It's like, okay, like, can you contain a woman's emotion right now without stopping it? Like,
Mm,
can you hold space for them to emote without taking it personally, like you've done something wrong?
mm,
Or women, like, can you see that he really wants to provide for you and support you, but he's learning how to do that in a way that you actually can receive his love. When it
mm-hmm,
comes to the tantra stuff, it's sort of like, can we slow down and feel the energetics of these connections before we just get really excited and just like take our desire somewhere else? Can we cultivate that a little bit more? And then can we bring
mm.
words to it so that we actually can start to become more connected on many different levels? Did I
Yeah.
answer your question? Because that's a
No, no, that was kind of it because I was also going to ask, like, do they feel more comfortable with you in like opening up and saying all these things because you have a more vast background, you know?
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's an accurate read. And I think once we have that conversation and they start to unpack their basket and be like, okay, there's this, there's this, there's this. It's like
Mhm.
people come to me because they don't have anyone else to talk to. Like maybe like 5 minutes
Yes.
into the conversation, like I've never talked with anyone
Yeah.
about this. Like I can't even talk to my friends because I'll be judged. I've tried to work with a therapist, but they're like telling me I'm all wrong. I'm like, hey, I don't care if you're right or wrong. I'm here. Tell me your story. Because it's
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna. It's like I think the dominatrix stuff has also opened my permission field where it's like, bring it
Mhm.
on. Like we can talk whatever.
Yes.
I am cool. Like I just can handle a lot more than I used to be able to handle when I was
Yeah.
through this.
I get that. I get that so much. I feel like I'm not a coach or a therapist or anything, but because of my sexual past and my openness with sexuality and talking about it, people will come to me and just spill everything. And I'm like, ooh, look at me getting all the tea without having to do anything. People really just, they want to find this one person. They're like, what is a safe space? Who is a safe space? And then they just vomit all of this like
Yeah,
sexual, maybe not all trauma, but just like sexuality, and on you. And I'm like, okay, I take it, I receive it. Let's talk about it. Let's learn from it.
totally.
But yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like people are like, honestly, just like breaking at the seams to talk about this stuff, but they don't have the place to do it. So
I
it's
agree
very,
100%. That's why when I started listening to your show, I was like, oh my God, I love this woman.
yeah.
I can't believe I'm going to talk to this woman. This is so exciting.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love
you're doing
that.
this, you're doing God's work. You're doing the service.
Oh, well, likewise. Yeah, thank you. What is one question that you would say that you ask all couples before they even think about opening up their relationship?
That's a great question. It's sort of like, what's your capacity? Like
Mm-hmm.
around like what is your capacity I mean I'm sort of bring it like you asked me a question. I'm like, oh, where's the question inside of me? But I think there's something to be said around like what's your capacity um for communication, for knowing yourself, for how to just really find your yes and say what your no is. Like what is your capacity for growth and transformation? Like what's your capacity, then what's your pacing
Mm-hmm.
for you want something, but like how can you pace yourself to actually get towards a goal?
Yeah.
Sense.
Sometimes I feel like people don't even know what they want though, you
Exactly.
know?
Right. And then it's sort of like, and then the deeper question is, well, what's your deeper meaning? What's your deeper longing? What's your deepest intention? What's
Mm,
your deepest desire? Like if you could have it all your way, what would it be like? And what would you
mm-hmm.
have? And then getting on like, and then dropping down even deeper and then starting to fine tune, like, okay, cool. Like now that we know, like if you had it all way, what would that look like? Then
Yeah.
how does that meet reality? And then how can we and in that reality, where can things adjust and slowly open to bring you
Mm-hmm.
closer and to bring your partner closer, to bring everything closer to having it be a win-win? Because it has to be a
Yeah.
win-win. If it's not a win-win, it's not going to be fun for anybody.
Yeah. Do you ever give suggestions to people on like where they go to meet different people that are kind of in the lifestyle? Because I think for me, I have pornography, so I'm able to quite literally just manufacture the kind of sex I want. I'm like, I will hire this person, and you will do this, and you will do this, and it will be my dream. But I feel like in the real world, people don't have that option. You can't hire your friends to come over and give you the best sex of your life. So are you telling people how to get into these communities, how to get into the lifestyle?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned a lot through Tantra actually
Mm.
is, there are different groups, different experiences out there for people who are sex positive or open relationship positive and even monogamous, but it's like there's places where it's just more welcome, less shunned upon.
Yes.
So, lifestyle clubs, Tantra festivals, different kinds of, even the BDSM scene, like those are different
Mm-hmm.
places where people might be exploring different flavors of relating in relationship. Like some people are monogamous, some people are swinging, some people are monogamish, like some people
Yeah.
are completely open. So it's sort of like finding ways to put people in those situations. And so sometimes there's like one-off teaser events, or sometimes there's, a weekend immersion, or there's a week event that actually
Mm.
is more of a deep dive. And those events can be really informative, especially if you go as a couple. I mean, you as you go as a single or a couple, because then you're around more like-minded people, and then people
Mm.
start to see, oh wow, like there's more of people like me, and this is kind of cool. And you have a freak flag, and I have a freak flag, and our
Yeah.
flags can go together. And then in those spaces, there's a lot of emphasis on communication. There's a lot of emphasis on consent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emphasis on and authenticity. And so then you're in this like this atmosphere, this ambiance where people are practicing what it's like to be
Mm-hmm.
real and open and consent, and doesn't necessarily have to be sexual or erotic. And that's the other thing, is like people often will jump to the gun, is like, or jump the gun and say, oh, well, if I go to a sex party, that means I'm going to have sex. Well, not
Right.
necessarily. You might get a phone
Mm-hmm.
number, and maybe having sex another time might be better than like what you think you're going to get now. And so there's also this
Yeah.
like, I'm all about slowing down, Sylvia.
Yeah. You said that people can go into these solo. So I've always heard this myth, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always heard single women are welcome, but men need to be in a couple. Is this true, or are single men kind of more openly accepted?
It kind of depends where you're going, really.
Okay.
So say
Okay.
for example, if I'm going to a tantra event or a tantra experience, like it doesn't matter, single men, single women, couples, all good. But if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
say like a lifestyle club, or some sort of swinging orgy party or something like that, then like single men might be more discouraged, or they might go
Got
for
it.
a gender balance. It really depends, because
Okay.
each of those subcategories have their own kind of culture and their own agreements,
Mm.
and like maybe like rules or expectations, and it really just depends. You just got to know ahead of time.
Yeah, interesting. Because I hear that from people all the time. Okay, we are out of time, but I have one last question.
Sure.
Okay, what would you say is the wildest or most touching transformation that you have seen from a client?
This is great. I would say that there is one client I worked with. It was a couple, and we worked together for about 2 or 3 years, and they were like we like every week we would meet, or every couple of weeks we would meet, and they went through this transformation where she was wanting him to be more poly, and he wasn't quite sure if he wanted to be poly, and then he was resistant to me because I was so direct. And then it came to a point where he really started taking in some of the things that I was sharing with him. And these were all things around how to like be more grounded and like really develop his masculinity, because he really lost himself in like the relationship with his wife. And so over the course of a number of months, he just completely transformed. And now he's a different person.
Yeah,
And like
I
there's
bet he's a happier
he's a
person.
happier person, and he feels more empowered, and he feels more grounded, and he feels more masculine, like in that
Yeah,
showing up in a way of like, wow, like, and now like women are just like attracted to him like flies. It's or like
yeah,
bees. I don't know if flies is
yeah.
the right word.
There is
Attracted to him like,
there is a lot to say about a man having confidence.
yeah,
I People always ask me what do I look for in a man. I'm like, confidence. I need him to walk into a room and own it. That's what I want. And that comes from inside. That has nothing to do with the outside.
exactly.
So,
Women love it.
yeah. Thank you so much, Laurie, for doing this. I feel like you answered so many questions, but I feel like I would have 100 more. So, and I'm sure our guest will as well. So this was fantastic. Tell us how we can find out more about you, what websites they can direct you to. If you have any upcoming events that you want to invite our guests to, please do
Awesome.
that.
Sure. So my website is poly-coach.com. And if you write in poly-coach.com/, sexy, funny, raw, you'll get a gift that is specifically for your listeners.
Perfect. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And as far as other things, they're all sort of on the horizon. I hope to be teaching at some Tantra festivals next year. And yeah, just I think you'll see more of me as I continue to have conversations with people like you, Sylvia.
I love it. I can't wait. You're doing such good things. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to meet with us. So,
All right, take care.
you too.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right, guys, that is it for today. If you like what you saw, click that subscribe button. And until next time, adios.